Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Seth Speaks, The Magical Approach, and this is a summary of our Part 7. Let's begin. So in this one, Seth begins the session greeting the participants and signaling the start of another important discussion. This introduction sets the stage for a deeper exploration into concepts that go beyond conventional thinking. He invites the audience to consider new perspectives. Now, I want to begin by mentioning one of the most important and vital messages in your glass door dream of 2 days ago, for its truth applies to the magical approach as well. So, here Seth is referring to a recent dream involving a glass door, stating its meaning is highly significant. This dream serves as an example of a concept Seth calls the magical approach. He emphasizes the importance of this dream's message, explaining that it ties directly into the teachings of the magical approach. That is, the dream was giving you an example of one of the main characteristics of what we will call the magical approach. Now back to the passage. That is, the dream was giving you an example of one of the main characteristics of what we will call the magical approach. Ruber did not stress this in his interpretation, which was otherwise excellent. The main issue was the relative ease with which you were able to enlarge the hole in the glass door. Ease is the key word. So what he's trying to say here in this passage is he's trying to clarify that the dream illustrates a key principle of the magical approach, ease. The effortless nature of enlarging the hole in the glass door symbolizes how the magical approach allows individuals to transcend physical limitations. Rupert, while interpreting the dream well, missed this crucial point about ease. Seth is highlighting the significance of this concept as ease plays a central role in applying the magical approach in both the dream and in waking life. Now we return to the passage. To the world of intellect, a glass door must be considered solid, as it is in the world of physical senses. In other quite as factual terms, indeed in the larger framework of facts, the door, of course, is not solid at all, as no objects are. Obviously, that is known to science. So here Seth contrasts the intellectual understanding of the physical world with a broader, more expansive perspective. While the glass door seems solid to our physical senses and intellect, science knows that at a deeper level, it is not truly solid. This introduces the idea that our intellectual understanding of reality is limited and cannot always grasp the full or true nature of things, especially when considering the magical approach which transcends these surface level perceptions. Back to the passage. Science delegates the world of nature as the realm of exterior natural events. Its view of nature is therefore mechanistic. The natural self, however, like the rest of nature, possesses a rich dimension of inside psychological depth that science, because of its own definitions, cannot perceive. Telepathy and clairvoyance, for example, are a part of natural effects, but they belong to a nature so much more expansive than science definitions that they have been made to appear as highly unnatural eccentricities of behavior rather than as natural components of consciousness. So, Seth here critiques the mechanistic view of nature that science promotes, arguing that it overlooks the deeper psychological dimensions of the natural self. While science focuses on external events, it neglects the inner world where phenomena like telepathy and clairvoyance exist. These abilities, according to Seth, are natural aspects of consciousness, but because they do not fit within the limited scope of scientific definitions, they are dismissed as abnormal or eccentric. This passage emphasizes the limitations of a strictly scientific worldview. It urges us to recognize the expansive nature of reality that includes inner, non-physical experiences. Back to the passage. It is also for that reason that they seem to fall outside of the realm of the sane. Such characteristics are, however, basic properties of the natural person. They do not appear very well under the auspices of the scientific method, because the scientific method is itself programmed to perceive only information that fits into its preconceived patterns. So, here Seth explains that abilities like telepathy and clairvoyance are often seen as irrational or even insane, because in reality, they are fundamental parts of the natural self. These abilities are overlooked by the scientific method because science is structured to filter out anything that does not fit into its predetermined patterns. Seth is suggesting that these abilities are misunderstood due to the limitations of science's narrow focus, rather than they are inherently unusual. The natural self, when viewed outside of scientific constraints, includes these extraordinary abilities as a part of its regular functioning. Back to the passage. Such abilities appear to be unpredictable, discontinuous, only because you are relatively unaware of what is actually quite constant psychological behavior. That is, such abilities operate so smoothly, so continuously, and with much ease, that you become aware of them only under certain conditions. You are aware of what seem to be isolated hints of odd characteristics. So here, Seth reveals that abilities like telepathy and clairvoyance appear sporadic or unpredictable because you are largely unaware of how seamlessly they operate. These abilities are actually a constant part of our psychological landscape, but we only notice them when specific conditions make them more apparent. Rather than being isolated events, these abilities function continuously in the background, demonstrating the ease and smoothness with which they operate. This reinforces the idea that the magical approach, where such abilities play a role, is a natural, effortless process. Back to the passage. The intellect is basically able to handle many kinds of information and information systems. It is far more flexible than you presently allow it to be. It can handle several worldviews at once, realizing that they are each methods of perceiving and approaching reality. So here Seth points out that the intellect is capable of much more than we currently allow it to do. The mind has the ability to process and integrate multiple worldviews at once, recognizing that each offers a different way of perceiving and interacting with reality. This flexibility of the intellect is often underestimated, as modern society tends to limit it to a single dominant world view. Seth encourages expanding the intellect's capacity to embrace various perspectives, which would allow for a more comprehensive understanding of reality. Back to the passage. To some degree, historically speaking, that sort of situation operated in the past, when, comparatively speaking, now people realize that there was indeed an inner world of complexity and richness that could be approached in certain fashions, one that existed alongside the physical world so that the two intersected. So here, Seth reflects on the past, noting that people once understood the existence of an inner, complex world that operated alongside the physical world. In those times, you see, people recognized that different approaches were required for the inner and outer reality. The intersection of these two realms was acknowledged, and individuals were more in tune with both aspects of reality. This historical awareness contrasts with modern times where the focus has shifted heavily towards the physical world, neglecting the rich inner dimension that is equally important for the understanding of reality. Back to the passage. Certain approaches worked in one area, and others worked in the inner reality. The intellect could handle both approaches, operating with separate assumptions. There were separate assumptions that applied to different realities. So what is he saying here? In the past, the intellect was capable of managing both inner and outer realities by applying different assumptions to each. You see, people understood that different methods were needed for interacting with the physical world versus the inner psychological world. The intellect could navigate these dual realities, and it could do it without confusion, as it recognized that they operated under separate rules. This balance allowed for a more holistic approach to life where both inner and outer experiences were respected and understood. Back to the passage. In modern times, however, the intellect has been stripped down, so to speak. Science perceived the spectacular complexity of exterior reality, but turned its sights completely away from any recognition at all, until it regarded subjectivity itself as a mere throwaway product accidentally formed by mindless matter. So what is Seth talking about here? Seth explains that in modern times, the intellect has been stripped down due to the dominance of scientific thinking. While science has made incredible discoveries about the complexity of the external world, it has completely disregarded the inner world of subjective experience. Science treats subjectivity as an insignificant byproduct of physical matter, which has led to a diminished understanding of human consciousness and the inner dimensions of reality. This narrowing of focus has caused modern society to lose touch with the deeper aspects of existence, which were once more fully recognized. Back to the passage. All of this applies to your situation, for I want you to thoroughly understand intellectually and emotionally the errors of current thought, so that you can see that our material is indeed provoking you not only with creative material, but with a more factual presentation of the framework in which you have your existence. So here Seth emphasizes that these broader concepts directly apply to the listener's current situation. He wants them to fully grasp both intellectually and emotionally the flaws in modern thinking, particularly the limitations imposed by the rational, scientific worldview. By understanding these errors, they can see that the material Seth presents is not just creative or imaginative, but offers a more accurate framework for understanding their existence. Seth's teachings aim to expand our perception of reality, allowing for a more complete and meaningful engagement with life. This marks the end of Seth Speaks, the magical approach. This was the summary for our part 7. What do you think about this particular passage and the summary? Please leave it in the comments below. Until the next time, I am Tony Victory, a wolf uncaged. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Thank you.